industry, if it's affected, is going to affect the Ministry of Commerce a lot. And the voice has to be the Ministry of Commerce. And we, for the last 8 months, have been very vocal, not only making sure that we sensitize the government. I am with the government, part of government, but at the same time, there are other stakeholders who make certain decisions which do affect the overall industry. So just to cut the story a little bit short, first of all, I think so. There are two responsibilities that we carry. One is in terms of the 80% of the government policies, decisions, power structure pricings, overall taxations, which is a key component. And on the other side, which we call it as our responsibility of what Ministry of Commerce should do. On our part, it has been few sectors which are very important. I'd like to discuss basically what is a core responsibility of Ministry of Commerce. First, foremost is what kind of a place we are giving to the overall industry and what should be their growth within Pakistan and the growth which we want to see for them in different markets. So Pakistan has different FTAs, we have PTAs, we have some very bilateral engagements with companies, and at the same time we have our new markets which are emerging up. So identifying such markets, which should be fresh markets for Pakistani products and export surplus, and at the same time markets where we are engaged already, what kind of a benefit we can take, whether it's the European Union side, the US side, it's the GCC countries with whom we are engaging, China FTA, Malaysia, Indonesia, Far East, looking Africa, which was an initiative overall, seeing dividing Africa into 3 regions, which I feel seeing Africa as a single still is a big challenge. We have to cross-site it and see it in east, west, and north. So these trade diplomacies and engagements is one component where we are aggressively trying to reach out. Engagements with countries which we have not done before, or we have, if done, we have not gone into an agreement state with them. I'll give you a very small example of recently, like 4 or 5 countries we have initiated. With South Korea, Pakistan has not engaged for the last 12 years. With Iraq, we have not engaged for the last 22 years. With Azerbaijan, Pakistan did its first PTA. With Cambodia, recently I was in Cambodia with a market which is very much competitive in garments and all. Pakistan has never engaged with Cambodia with any platform. And similarly is the case with central few countries and all. So this is one big question, which is like why we have not really engaged with markets where we could have given our own product lines, our own industry, a leap to go and address and take an opportunity from these countries. So one thing is try to reach out to new markets, not markets which have never been identified before. Markets where we are already engaged in, how we can take a benefit from them, how we can support our whole business community. On the second part, when it comes to China FTA, when it comes to other PTAs we have, I think so there's a big room of readdressing issues, resettlement certain things which is not kind of benefiting our industry, but vice versa. So I think so for that we are addressing main key components we are already engaged in as because China is the biggest importer in Pakistan, close to 13-14 billion. So that's one key component we are very focused on. Our teams have taken initiative. We have seriously seen the GCC and the CEPA, which we are going to do with UAE, which again has raised a lot of concerns for our industry, that what kind of, we should not be repeating the mistakes which we have done in other FTAs. So we have given time to these 2 engagements and try to make sure that we keep a secure way of negotiating and engaging. And the thirdly, which is very important, of how to take the business community with us along with the Prime Minister and other delegations and give them a kind of a platform where they can really see or capitalize on an opportunity. So for that purpose, I would like to kind of compliment the Prime Minister himself. You people have engaged with him very thoroughly on different platforms, that the B2B engagements, we are trying to give them a space of ownership and not just merely making them business visits by any person or business community representing, but very sectoral focus, identification of areas in the countries where we are going, what kind of interest they have with us. And for the last 6 months, we've been very successful in engaging with many of them, like Malaysia, Saudi Arabia itself, Russia has been one, Belarus has been one. At the same time, we have engaged with, as a single country, with Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan itself, and again focusing on with the Saudi Arabian part a lot. And similarly trying to focus, which we have not yet, the biggest market we have in West is US and European Union. We have engaged ourselves in certain areas where our overall engagements and non-solved issues we have with US, with USTR, but with the new government coming in place, Pakistan is going to be re-engaged again and try to capitalize the markets which already exist. In tariff lines, there has been a very serious concern. What the government basically did in the last budget, unfortunately, many of them were let down and which were not accepted by the Ministry of Commerce in the budget we had, on which we raised a lot of questions also. But this time, in the new budget, what the Ministry of Commerce is trying to do is we have already sensitized the Ministry of Finance that commerce has to be engaged at all levels because it's the concern which we get from the market is directly to us. All the chambers, associations, companies, and organizations, they come to us, and we are the platform and we are the right people who listen to them more in our own way and keeping the overall economy of Pakistan, the growth of Pakistan. It's a long list of things which we like to address also. And one other key component which I've seen as a personal experience of my thing is revamping the whole and reforming the Commerce Ministry itself. A lot of steps that we have taken in terms of TDAP and DGTRO, EDF itself, IPO and other sectors, which is very important too. If we are not reforming and strengthening our own organizations, that's the really basics of uplifting the overall trade diplomacy. And one key component, I think, so a good step which the caretaker took was how the new trade investment offices are representing Pakistan globally. There was a very good mechanism of hiring them through lumps and then identifying sectors and engaging them in different missions. What we did on top of that is to evaluate them and see how they're functioning for Pakistan. How are they engaging with the business community over there and trying to make that bridge gap closer by engaging the business community here in Pakistan. So we've created this portal where they are evaluated on the daily basis what they're doing, who are they engaging with, what numbers, KPIs they have achieved and all. And now that we are in the second phase of hiring the trade officers again, which is already completed and I'm about to take the interviews, we have introduced 5 more components. So it's just not like sending your representative in a mission. So you need to identify that country and who's fit for that country. So each country has its own needs, how the people are, how the government is, how you need to really pursue your industry, what kind of a sector you have more in that country. So inshallah, these new officers are going to be taken keeping these 5-6 benchmarks in front. And the only reason I am able who will be representing the whole business community in trying to gain what they can from the other missions. At the same time, like I've said, the reform overall has to be more domestic also. You know, we talk about export surplus all the time, but if you don't have a good domestic trade mechanism, it's very difficult to really achieve and get that extra mile to be a trade surplus. And for that, we are reviving old policy, which was the domestic policy, which was there with the Ministry of Commerce, was kept in a cold storage reasons well known to people. But we are trying to revive that engage with the provinces, engage with the industrial departments of provinces and federal authorities to really bring up the supply chain in a better form and enhanced form. With all these things, we have gained quite a good number of numbers in the agriculture side, which really went a little higher, 3.5 billion last year. And especially there was the rice sector where we saw the growth. But I very much believe that there's a lot of potential in the growth of agro-based products in Pakistan. And for that purpose, we had a good AG Expo, which happens every year. But this time we have introduced another expo, which is going to be held next month in Lahore. And that is going to be agri-tech. Technology has to really come in agriculture. So the value chain has to increase, the volume has to increase, the value addition has to increase through technology. And that's one key component which I feel is missing in Pakistan's overall industry. The growth has to come through technology. And for that, there has to be like skill development, industrial growth development, industrial technology development. And these kind of fairs do have to be of certain level where they can attract a lot of good investors to Pakistan. So by keeping these aspects in mind, like the 660 billion figure that we have that we should achieve in another 4 years' time, in my point of view, if things are done very rightly, it's very much achievable. But at the same time, if we don't address these key challenges and issues of cost of production to energy, to taxation, and other ease of business in Pakistan, then I must say that it will be very difficult to even come closer to it. So by keeping all these things, this is what the Ministry of Commerce has really put forward to the federal government. And with the assistance that we need all these aspects to be addressed also. Plus keeping IT and services on one side. So this is an overall view that we feel if we engage in all these sectors, Pakistan can definitely achieve all these things. But at the same time, my core belief is very much that we need to give the industrial growth in Pakistan. If there's no industrial growth in Pakistan, it's going to be very difficult. So we need to give that space. But I'm sure you all are well aware how our recent negotiations have gone with IMF, which has restricted us to some corners, to some areas where we have not been able to work very freely in many sectors. But I'm sure with as passing day, Pakistan will definitely make its position a little stronger and will be in a better position of renegotiate on few things too.
Thank you. I think you addressed